Hello out there in internet land. This is the Stop the Damn Match Wrestling Podcast, Episode 9. We're going to be discussing Wrestlemania 38. Oops, WWE doesn't like mentioning the number anymore, even though it's supposed to be the Super Bowl of sports entertainment. I'm your host, Phil Lamington. Joining me this evening, or whenever the hell you're listening to this. First of all, we've got our regular panelist, the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Seamus. How are you, Dr. Seamus?
Not too bad. Just taking it easy after these last 2 days.
Yeah. And our guest friend, who pops in fairly regularly the last couple of pay-per-views, the Yellow Devil. Shokes, how you going?
Good evening, Mr. Phil. Pretty good, thanks.
Now, conspicuous by his absence is a certain JB, who he's had the unfortunate luck of going to a Parramatta match in Sydney.
Oh, Jesus.
And then Virgin Airways decided to screw him over and send him, instead of sending him back to Queensland, they sent him to Victoria, then to Queensland. He's almost clocked up as many miles as my Nightmare board game when it was coming to me.
How does that... Okay, I guess that's not important to the podcast, but anyway, I'm just curious as to how the logic behind it is confusing.
The direct flight got taken down for maintenance, so that was the only other flight, is the connecting one.
Really, the true story, because that's the cover story, the true story is because he's a Parramatta supporter. And they just can't let him have any sort of joy in his life. Also missing tonight, we were supposed to have the return of the librarian, Tim. But he's a little bit under the weather today. So get well soon, Tim. Heal your wheels. And we'll see you for probably SummerSlam, because he likes doing the big ones. So heal your wheel, Tim. We miss you. And we'll see you then.
This was a big one, though.
This was a big one. This was 2 days. Actually, before we get stuck into WrestleMania, there is actually a couple of news items that I want to talk about first. So the first one was the Hall of Fame, which was the Steiner brothers, Vader, Shad Gaspard got the Warrior Award, and very deservedly, posthumously. Queen Sharmell. And mainly the one that I just want to briefly touch on was The Undertaker. He's been my favourite wrestler since I started watching it. So all I'm going to say is thank you, Taker. Very well deserved.
Agreed.
The next story was that Triple H announced his retirement due to his heart issues. Again, a well-deserved career. And I know in the early 2000s there was a lot of him holding the world title for a very long time. And I think he kind of blocked Booker T getting a push. I think that was 2003. But again, thank you, Triple H. And finally, we lost Scott Hall, which that was sad, but he lived a full life, and sure, he made mistakes throughout, but he made an impact on everyone. So thank you, Scott.
Goodbye to the bad guy.
Exactly.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
Right, so we got that out of the way. WrestleMania 38, day one, because it was split over 2 days. Day one, it was a pretty solid day. Pretty solid day at the office. It opened with Mark Wahlberg video package that I don't think anyone really paid attention to. And then possibly one of the worst renditions of America the Beautiful ever. But being Australian, we skipped that shit.
Hey, I wasn't there for the first two segments, probably the best word, and I'm glad I wasn't.
Yeah, like I said, we skipped that shit. Play Australia, Advance Australia fair, fuckers. Right, so the first match on the card was Shinsuke Nakamura teaming with Rick Boogs against the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Now, my notes here have that it was a pretty boring match, but I think part of it is because Rick Boogs genuinely did injure himself. He tore his patella? I think it was?
ACL.
ACL.
Meniscus.
At first, I thought it was kayfabe. I thought it was just a kayfabe injury, but no, it's legit.
Tried to carry 2 people and knee buckled.
And the Usos landed the 3D and got the pinfall and retained the SmackDown Tag Team titles. I gave the match a 2 out of 5. I know that's a bit brutal because Rick Boogs had the injury, but even if he wasn't injured, it just seemed like a rather generic match and not a really fascinating way to start WrestleMania.
Hell, I only came in like partway through, and it was towards the end of the match, and I still found it really boring. Oh, like, and I love Shinsuke. I think he's very exciting, but yeah, even he couldn't save the Uso match. Sorry, I hate the Usos.
It's just that, and there was 0 build for this match. We've seen the Usos fight a million times. They've held those titles for how long now?
Too long.
Yeah, too long.
Well,
exactly.
The thing is, they've had so many title reigns, it all just bleeds into one.
That's exactly right. And Boogs and Shinsuke have great chemistry together. Unfortunate that Boogs did get injured, but yeah, it was pretty boring, as Phil said.
It also kind of feels like because about a month ago or so, Shinsuke was the Intercontinental Champion, and then he's dropped the belt to Sami Zayn, who then dropped it to Ricochet, who they've done nothing with. It kind of feels like Shinsuke dropped the Intercontinental title for nothing. Because I'm pretty sure that Shinsuke and Rick Boogs were going to walk out with the tag straps, but then they had to call the audible, which means Shinsuke's back in the wilderness.
Yeah, it's almost like the Intercontinental title is cursed. Like, whoever holds it, their career goes down the toilet.
You're mid-carder for life, pal.
Well, it's just showing that the Intercontinental title and the US title are basically irrelevant.
Yep, they've been that way for a while, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, these... Okay, well, I'll pose this question before I get your thoughts and your ranking on the match. Do you think that perhaps the IC and the US titles need to be defended on Raw and SmackDown, their respective brands, every week?
Yes.
Like it's a television title.
Absolutely.
100%. It should be like Cena's US Open Challenge. People love that shit, and it was entertaining because you didn't know who came out next.
Well, I don't think we need the Open Challenge, but I think the titles need to be defended.
Yeah.
They need to be visible. These are supposed to be the workhorse titles. And at the moment, they're just...
Mid-card title. It's like...
They're not even that. They don't get defended.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't... the Intercontinental title wasn't defended at Mania. Like, it's one of the most prestigious titles.
It hasn't been defended at Mania in so many years now.
Yeah, which is disappointing. I mean, look at the TNT title and the... What's the other title?
The TBS title?
FTW title?
Oh, yeah, the FTW title.
Look at those titles in AEW. They're actually defended, and they actually hold some prestige. Even though they're only newish titles, they still mean a lot to whoever holds them.
Well, I always go back to WCW. Like, I mean, they had the television title. It was defended every week. You had the United States title, which it wasn't defended every week, but it had enough prestige and it was relevant. It was defended every pay-per-view, or at least was visible every pay-per-view.
I mean, fuck the hardcore title back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was defended like just as comedy segments, if anything, too, and it was fun to watch.
Well, I mean...
And sometimes not.
In the Attitude Era, you had the Intercontinental title, you had the European Championship, and they were defended either weekly or bi-weekly.
Cruiserweight Championship?
But with an overlying storyline that led to a pay-per-view as well. So, clearly no one gives a toss about these belts. Either do something with them,
Or don't have them.
or junk them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The North American title in NXT gets defended more than them.
I mean, they had a ladder match for that, and it was one of the best ladder matches we've had in a fucking age.
Yeah. So, what would you give the Shinsuke Usos match out of 5, Shay?
I'd agree with you too. Like, it was unfortunately a very short, boring match, which could have been better maybe if there wasn't an injury. But yeah, unfortunate circumstances.
And Shogo's waving his arm because he walked in halfway through the match.
I am unable to rank this match because I was not there for all of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fair enough. So the next match was Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. Old Drew and Happy Corbin was accompanied by Madcap Moss, who looks like our mate Ross, so we kept calling him Madcap Ross.
So when's Ross joining us on the podcast?
I don't know. I've never asked him.
Well, maybe we should, and maybe we should make him watch all these Madcap Moss matches and say, "We know who you are now, Ross. We know who you are."
We'd have to do a classic one and have Macho Man Randy Savage in it, so then he'd be really happy over that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Macho Man
Yeah.
is not happy with your decision, no.
No. Yeah, I forgot that's his favorite wrestler.
Cup of coffee in the big time, yeah. General notes on it. Drew had a massive leap over the top rope, which I thought was his like little nod to the Undertaker.
Same spot too.
Drew is the first person ever to kick out of the end of days.
Yeah, it's WrestleMania. Anything is possible.
Finally happened.
And Drew hit the Claymore and won the match via pinfall. And then after the match, Madcap Moss went to do something, and Drew had the sword. Angela,
yep.
Yeah. And he managed to cut through the top 2 ropes of ring ropes. I thought it was a pretty solid match. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It wasn't anything too special, but it had timing. It was Drew doing really well, and it made up for the previous match being a bit of a bum steer. What are your thoughts, Shogs?
Well, I really enjoyed it. It was very exciting, and I would have given it a 5 had Drew actually cut through the 3rd rope, which he did not. I give it 4. Drew, you got to work on your sword swinging, buddy.
Shay's frigging around with the mic.
Try to line a mic and just beat myself up with it.
How about you, Shay? When you stop fucking about with the microphone.
That's better. It's actually at my mouth level now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Thanks.
Get your
Everyone
mind
at
out of the
home's
gutter.
like, oh, that's a visual.
I'd probably give it a 3. It was, relatively entertaining. I'm not a really big fan of Baron. I never have been. Madcap Moss was funny. I mean, that's his job at the moment, I suppose. Drew's always good.
Well, suspenders in a bare chest,
Hey, you gotta hide them nips.
Well, I don't know.
Ask Shogo, he's Asian.
Usually we pixelate everything, but that's another story for another time.
Usually it's on a boat.
But yeah, it was the final bit with Angela cutting through the 2 ropes was unexpected, so it was pretty good.
All right. Then we get to the next match, which for me, this felt like it was really the start of WrestleMania. This was by far one of the best matches, despite what Matthew from Botchamania reckons. We've got the tag team match of the Mysterios versus The Miz and Logan Paul. Now, I think Logan Paul is a bell end, so I just want to get that out of the way, and I'm not a fan of The Miz either. And I think that Rey Mysterio needs to retire. However, my notes here state that there was solid team action, solid tag team wrestling, And Logan Paul was really good. Like, he was really impressive in the ring. Like, he really applied himself.
That sort of button in there, but that was a common occurrence through this whole the whole entire WrestleMania. Actually, all of these celebrity or special editions were actually very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to agree with Dr. Shea over here.
I'll come back to that point in a bit.
Okay.
Trust me.
All right.
It's a very controversial comment what I will make. And I know at least
Oh,
one
boy.
person sitting at home will get a little bit upset over it, but Beck, it's okay.
It's never okay.
It's never okay. Logan Paul was in full heel mode. He managed to hit the Three Amigos and a frog splash, and he looked pretty impressive doing it. And then after chicanery, The Miz hit the skull-crushing finale on Rey Mysterio, pinned him, and Logan Paul and The Miz got the 1-2-3. And then after the match, they were celebrating, and Miz turned on Logan Paul and gave him a skull-crushing finale as well, which I think is setting up a match between those two at SummerSlam. I gave the match 4 out of 5. What are your thoughts, Dr. Sheamus?
I give it a 3.5. It was good. Logan Paul was very impressive. Ray and Dominic, always nice to watch. The Miz, still, his wrestling style bores the shit out of me. It's just super safe. No fancy spots or anything.
Him and Austin Theory both seem to have the same problem of being just vanilla as fuck.
Yeah, super vanilla type wrestling. But hey, that's the way they wrestle. Yeah, 3.5. Logan Paul versus The Miz. That could be quite good at SummerSlam if it is going to happen. If that was anything to go by, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually looking forward to seeing Logan Paul wrestle. Not the person, the wrestler.
Shokes?
I give it a 4 out of 5, and I don't think Logan Paul teaming up with anybody else would have worked. The Miz was a perfect teammate for him, partially because they're both, huge, air quote, celebrities. The Miz being the big movie star that he is, and Logan Paul being the big internet sensation that he is. I don't think any other tag team partner would have worked for Logan Paul.
Absolutely.
And him getting paired up against the Mysterios, the whole father-son duo just, really made it extra special, I reckon. And, that little nod to Eddie Guerrero with the Three Amigos, when Logan Paul managed to land it, but Rey Mysterio did not. I thought that was a really good heel move. I'm pretty sure Miz told him to do that so that he'd get a bit more heat for it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a really solid match. 4 out of 5. Easy.
Right, then we get to the next match, which was for the Raw Women's Championship between the champion Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
At one point, Becky Lynch does what I described as a bowling shoe ugly moonsault. These two had really sloppy chemistry in the ring. They really didn't feel like they were telling a story. It just felt like... I think I described it... I think I described it and another match later on as being like playing WWF No Mercy on your N64 on the easy difficulty and just beating the shit out of the AI. And just hitting them with every move, and it just... It felt kind of soulless. I think it was Bianca Belair that botched the Molly go-round and kicked Becky Lynch in the face?
On top of the head.
On top of the head?
Yeah, she meant to hit her on the shoulder, but she got it on the top of the head.
Eventually, Becky Lynch, fuck this noise. Bianca Belair hit the KOD and won the match. And now Bianca Belair is the new Raw Women's Champion. I gave it 1.5 out of 5. Now, I made a comment before with Logan Paul match, and you guys said that most of the celebrities that wrestled on this over the 2 days of WrestleMania. So I'm going to make this comment now, and I'm going to repeat it for other matches that this applies to. The celebrities put Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, and others to shame. These people do this all fucking year. And yet these celebrities get one match and manage to make them... Like, Logan Paul honestly made these two look like shit.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree.
Yep, 100%.
And that's not me sitting there before anyone lamblasts me in comments or whatever. That's not me sitting there making this agenda thing. Like, these two just genuinely sucked. Becky Lynch, her character is such a just non-event. And Bianca Belair, I can't stand Bianca Belair. When she opens her mouth to do a promo, it's just blah, 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 blah. And then she gets in the ring and it's very much, besides her hair whip, she's just a one-trick pony for me. She's like super strong and she's got the hair whip. And in the ring, she's just a wet blanket. What are your thoughts, Shogs?
Well, I would give the match 2 out of 5. And I just rated that a little bit higher than you, only because they started out really strong.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those matches that if they just finished it early enough, it would have been that perfect match. Yeah, it was sloppy in some areas, but if it was nice and short, it would have been a perfect match. But they dragged it on for too long. They got incredibly sloppier as the match progressed, and they just ruined it. And yeah, I became a fan of Bianca Belair on the last event that I was here for, because she could actually wrestle as opposed to when they had the Mae Young Classics or something when they first introduced her. Sorry, it's been a while. First time I ever saw her, like, this is the first time I've ever seen her cut a promo, and I did not enjoy it at all. She needs a manager, man. Or she needs to work on her speaking skills. Yeah, 2 out of 5. I would not recommend this match, man. But to be fair, there were worse matches.
Seamus has joined the chat.
I'd give it a 2 stars as well. As Shoga said, it started off quite strong, but it's one of those matches that should have ended in probably 5, maybe 10 minutes instead of going for, I think it was like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Becky Lynch was quite good back when she had the man gimmick. This big time Bex bullshit, I can't stand it.
Yeah.
She got, yes, she's meant to be a heel, but everyone liked her as the anti-heel.
As the Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Exactly. That's what people were branding her as, and she was good at it, and people loved her. And then she just decided to change her character, and people hated it. That's exactly what Austin did. He was, the anti-hero, went to a heel, and people hated it.
Yeah.
It's mirroring exactly what he did.
Yeah, and it's the exact same thing. It's not getting over.
Yeah. Bianca, she was great back with her WrestleMania moment that she had. And ever since then, no one gives a shit.
Yeah, because last year she won the title. She won the SmackDown title.
And immediately lost it to Becky. And not to Becky, immediately lost it. When was that? Was it that Rumble?
No. She won last year. She won the belt at WrestleMania because she had the match with Sasha Banks because she won the Royal Rumble.
She did, correct.
And because she got really upset because they were main eventing the first night.
Yep.
And then she won the belt, and it was a really interesting storyline building up to it. And then she won the belt, and her title reign was just such a fizzer.
Yeah, it was not.
And then she dropped the belt at SummerSlam to Becky Lynch.
Yeah, when she returned, and then randomly challenged her for a match, and she got beaten in like 20 seconds.
Yeah,
or less than that. No one was like, "Who cares?"
Yeah, it sort of sums up
happy.
her title reign. And now they're putting the belt on her again. If the writing isn't better this time,
It's just going to repeat itself.
yeah, it's just yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right, so 2-2. Right, cool. The next match for me, I thought was match of the night. Seth Rollins versus the mystery opponent. The mystery opponent turned out to be...
Spoiler warning.
Well, I think if people are listening to this, they've already watched the show.
Still, spoiler warning.
Still, spoiler alert.
Bray Wyatt. No, it wasn't Bray Wyatt.
It was the first person to jump from AEW to WWE in this new wrestling war. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, turned out to be the mystery opponent. And he got an epic pop.
Yep.
He did a bit of a piss take on his Stardust gimmick.
That got a giggle out of me, and
He also did a few little things to remind us of his brother, the man formerly known as Goldust, Dustin Rhodes.
mhm. Even threw in the old bionic elbow.
I was getting to that.
Oh shit! Sorry, spoiler alert.
The match was absolutely fantastic. Like, it was a solid match. Seth Rollins brings it. Cody Rhodes brought it. And you could tell that there was some kind of a little bit of a contrast between what Cody Rhodes has been doing for the last few years, like with AEW, Impact, Ring of Honor. I think he might have gone to Japan. I could be wrong, so I'm not going to lean on that crux. But Seth Rollins is very much the WWE style, but they seem to blend the two styles pretty well. And eventually, in a moment that even I was slightly cheering, was Cody Rhodes hit the bionic elbow, bit of the old flip-flop and fly from his old man, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Hit 2 crossroads, the bionic elbow, and then a third crossroads. Cody Rhodes gets the pinfall victory. I gave it 4 out of 5. Seamus, what are your thoughts?
This match was 100% match of the night. I give it a 5-star. It was perfect the way those two, they have amazing chemistry together. We've seen them wrestle before in the past. And Cody always brings it. Seth is fucking Seth Rollins, I mean, come on. But Cody bringing out some of his past gimmicks, as well as stuff, as you said, Phil, from both Dustin and from his dad, was just really nice to see. Seth, right at the start, as Cody was coming out, the facial expression from him was really, really good. Him changing from, being happy to, oh shit, time to get serious. Actually made give it a bit of, gravity to the match.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely the best match of the night by far, and one of the best matches at Mania for quite some time.
Yeah. What do you gave it a 5? Yeah. Shokes.
I will also give this match 5, and yeah, I 100% agree with what Dr. Sheamus has said. It, threw back to a few of the old, gimmicks where Cody was also Stardust, as well as throwing a few hints at his brother and his old man. It was just a really perfect, gotta be in the moment kind of match, and it was really unexpected too, because we all had a feeling it was going to be Cody Rhodes, but some parts of us thought, maybe it might be Bray Wyatt, maybe it might be this, that, the other. But yeah, it was a really perfect. It was a perfect match, 5 out of 5.
Also, like that Seth Rollins threw a couple of things in for Triple H.
Forgot about that.
Like,
Actually,
he hit the pedigree.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that it was a nice tribute match as well to Trips, Dustin, Dusty. So
And I'm glad that he got to keep his theme, because that theme is amazing.
I hate it.
You don't like Kingdom?
No,
Really?
Really?
no,
Yeah, okay.
not my thing.
It was better than the Stardust music.
I don't mind the Stardust music.
Oh,
Ew.
Christ.
Smoke and Mirrors was okay.
Yes.
Actually, no, I'm not a fan of Smoke and Mirrors. It sounds like a Divas theme song. I'm not even kidding.
It's
I mean,
still
I can
better than most of the crappy new music we get now in WWE.
Oh,
Generic Wrestler 1
Christ.
music.
Yeah. So we go from the match of the night to... this match was a car wreck. the SmackDown Women's Title match between champion Charlotte Flair and the winner of the 2022 Royal Rumble, Ronda Rousey.
Hey, it's a pee break match.
Now,
It pretty
technically,
much was.
they were technically proficient. I wrote technically good in my notes because I couldn't spell proficient. They were technically proficient. But again, like the other women's title match, there was no story, and they were just really sloppy. Like, I read afterwards that Ronda Rousey was missing spots and forgot stuff, and
It did show.
there was a really sweet ref bump in it. Charlotte speared the ref.
Yeah.
Not that kind of way. It was in ring action, not the other way.
We know, Phil. We know.
And I think it was the first time ever that Ronda Rousey got out of the figure eight.
Yes.
Someone broke out of the figure eight.
You mean somebody got out of the figure eight, not just Ronda Rousey got out of the figure eight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's late. But Charlotte hit the big boot on Ronda Rousey, got the pinfall, and retained the SmackDown Women's title. Now, initially, I was going to give this a 2.5 star. But my rant before about how Logan Paul can put dedicated roster members to shame applies here. I'm dropping it down to a 1.5.
Oh, ouch.
What are your thoughts, Shogs?
I am going to give this one an 82, partially because I did find it a lot better than the Becky Lynch Bianca Belair match. And, well, we all know that I hate Ronda Rousey. I don't think she belongs in the wrestling ring. I just didn't feel like this was just a throwaway match. What was he even doing this late in the game, basically?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a title match, and Ronda Rousey did win the Women's Royal Rumble, so
True.
typically you'd find that the person who wins the Royal Rumble match is in the main event, and the main event should be the match that closes the show.
Yeah, I suppose you got a good point, but still, I did not feel this. Like, I wasn't feeling this at all. 2 stars out of 5.
Shay?
I give it a 1.5. It was a very throwaway match. I mean, I expected Ronda to be, better than what she was before. She was very sloppy. She still is sloppy. She needs to... Yes, she can, do submissions and shit like that, sure. But she needs to improve her grappling, just her working in general. She's just not great.
She had a few sweet judo throws in there, though. I'll give her that.
Yeah, well, it's because she's a black belt in judo or some shit.
Or
She's
some shit.
Olympic
Judo. Olympic judo. Sorry, but yeah, she's proficient in that, so she can throw people. But she just seems really sloppy with actual other wrestling moves that she's trying to do.
Not so much sloppy. Do you think that she is too
Sloppy in the way of storytelling.
okay? Because when
Probably
it
the
comes
better
to the
word.
moves, like I noticed during her first run, like when she does the judo throws, like she really throws them in,
Mm.
and it always reminds me of Ken Shamrock versus Vader. And Ken Shamrock was really hitting Vader, and at one point Vader had him in the ring and said, "Oi, knock it off."
He pretty much said, ease up.
Yeah. It feels like she doesn't understand, like, it's not MMA, it's not judo. You don't have to rip their arm out of socket.
Yeah, exactly.
We believe that you're legit. We don't need you to legitimately hurt people. That's why I think Alexa Bliss would ever work with her again. Because she genuinely hurt Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, she needs to learn how to tell a story in the ring like some other females could do. Like, Charlotte is quite good at doing it. Not with Ronda, of course, but...
Here's my criticism of Charlotte Flair. I think she's gotten lazy.
Yeah, she's gotten too comfortable.
She's gotten lazy because, like, her fiance now works for the opposition because he was fired. And her dad got booted because of his past indiscretions.
Hmm.
And apparently, according to Becky Lynch on the Stone Cold podcast, like, Charlotte is an island unto herself now. She's not even friends with the Four Horsewomen. Like Becky and Sasha and Bayley.
Yeah.
Do you think it's all gone to her head?
100%. She's got how many women's title reigns now?
13.
Yeah, she's catching up to her daddy. She's 3 off her daddy.
I just think Charlotte might, when her contract is up, Charlotte might want to think about going to AEW just to try and refresh.
She won't do it.
Yeah, it's...
Not a chance. She's had way too many title reigns in WWE and is in way too good of a place. She returns, gets back in the title picture immediately. She doesn't go to the mid-card.
Yeah.
Never going to happen.
Right. So then we get to the final match of night 1, which was supposed to be the KO show featuring Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but it turned into a match. And
Who saw that coming?
and it was a no holds barred match. And how big was the pop that Stone Cold Steve Austin got when he came out?
It's one of the ones that
Yeah.
everyone knew who was coming.
It was like The Rock when he returned after a 7-year hiatus. It was kind of like that.
Only one man could get the biggest pops in WWE, and that being Stone Cold.
And so the match, Kevin Owens took a really stiff landing onto the commentary table that actually put a bit of a gash on his back. But Owens suplexed Austin on the concrete a few times. And though Austin looked like he'd lost a step or two because of his age and ring rust, had been 19 years since he'd had a match, he looked really solid.
Mm.
It was like the old Stone Cold. And, at the end of the match, Austin hits the stunner, pins him, 1, 2, 3. I gave the match 4 out of 5. I know it's a bit of a nostalgia thing, but there was a lot more storytelling in this match than there was in the 2 women's title matches.
I mean, it is Stone Cold. He's one of the best at doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on it, Shakes?
I would have to give this 4.5.
Yeah.
Mainly because of the nostalgia factor, and I would have given it a 5. Unfortunately, you can tell Austin has missed a step, and it's not much, but it's noticeable. He's still got it, but it's noticeable that he's lost at just that little bit, and you could tell Kevin Owens was carrying quite a bit of that. No, I'm not trying to fault Steve Austin at all. Like, he's been out of the game for how long now?
19 years
19
was his last match.
Yeah, 19 years, and you can tell that's taken a bit out of him. Not a lot, but it was noticeable. I was entertained through that whole thing, and I would have given it a 5, but I will have to give it a 4.5, simply because you can sort of tell that Austin has missed that step, and he can't really do a lot of the stuff he used to be able to do anymore. It was freaking amazing, man.
Shay?
Yeah, I give it a 4 as well. It was quite a good match for somebody who, as we've said, hasn't wrestled in 19 years. Definitely was noticeably slower than what he was, but obviously, that amount of time is going to do that to you. But, even just his brawling style is still the same. Still doing his mud hole stomps, albeit a little bit slower than he usually does, but still got there. And even after the match, the beer bath that he always does, it was a good nostalgia hit. And then he gave Byron Saxton a stunner just because he can.
Yeah, what the hell is a PG era, right?
It was just nice to see, and a good way to end night 1 on a high note.
And, Austin was in there with a safe pair of hands in Kevin Owens.
Absolutely. Kevin's a great worker, great on the mic, great as a heel or a face.
Yeah.
He's just a really good all-rounder.
I'm just surprised he didn't get shot in Texas.
Well, that surprises me about Kevin Owens, is that why won't Vince put a world title on him?
He has. He's been WWE champion. Sorry.
He was
No, he was.
Universal Champion.
Universal Champion, sorry. Yeah, he's Universal Champion. I don't know if he put the WWE on it yet, but I have a feeling he will. And Vince himself, seen a lot in him back then and even now. I mean,
But he also did say that the US title match between him and Jericho at Mania a few years ago was the worst WrestleMania match he's ever had.
Yes.
He's ever seen.
but that being said, he put him in a main event spot with Stone Cold of all people, so
That,
he's
and
looking.
he obviously hadn't seen Omos versus Bobby Lashley. We'll talk about that later.
Or Warrior versus Hogan at Mania 6.
Hey, that was awesome compared to Omos versus Lashley, and we know it.
But it was just nice to see, especially the fact that Austin gave KO the stunner as well as his finisher,
Yeah.
which is really cool to see.
So that was day one. Or if you're in Mexico, day Juan.
I was waiting for it.
Day Juan.
It's Uno, dickhead. And
Don't you have a boat to get on?
Lo siento, no hablo español.
As you, man? Where's you from, man? What you called, man? My name is Antonio Montana, a political refugee from Cuba. I probably just got copyright strike.
Probably, and, well, it's probably a good thing the bad guy's dead, so he can't sue you, but anyway.
And you, I take my cutter back.
Someone's been watching it. They're listening to the F1 ones. So, day two kicked off with another Mark Wahlberg video that, because we didn't watch it live, we were able to fast forward that. We also fast forward past America the Beautiful because we're Australian. We don't give a fuck about your American national anthems.
I do.
Good for you. You do realise Vince McMahon's not going to hire you for WWE.
Partially because I'm too old and both my ankles are shot to shit anyway, so yeah.
And
Probably
you're
not.
Asian.
Hire him as referee.
So he might hire you and then just bury you.
Asian referee for the first time ever.
No, they've got a Chinese referee, don't they?
Do they?
They
I
haven't. Yeah, WWE's got an Asian referee.
Not at the moment, they don't.
Not at the moment. They used to.
Oh, back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to put a racial stereotype in there, but I was just like, no, we've done enough of these.
I will allow it, but, whether you choose to or not, that's completely up to you.
No, I've done enough of these.
Oh, okay.
We've hit a limit.
So after the Americana bullshit, WrestleMania Day 2 starts off with Triple H coming out. And he came out, he introduced WrestleMania, but he also left his boots in the ring.
That was really unexpected because I was expecting him to give a retirement speech on a separate night, I guess. But I guess what other platform to do it on, right?
Well, we'll see next year when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he also said hello to Gable. That was there as well.
Yep, Gable Steveson, who they are plugging the shit out of.
Rocket ship up his ass.
So then the first match was the triple threat for the Raw Tag Team titles. Champions RK Bro of Randy Orton and Matt Riddle defending against Alpha Academy, which was Otis and Chad Gable, and the Street Profits Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford.
Montez, my man. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm sorry.
It was a really good way to start off the show. Like day two, it was fast-paced action, if I can get the words out. There was a lot of tributes to other tag teams, like the Steiner Dog, that the Street Profits. No, it was Alpha Academy
Yes.
did it. Amongst others, there was a ginormous mega blockbuster.
Never changed Montez. Good God, that was so good.
And then I think Angelo landed a Sky High. Is it Sky High? Yeah, it's a Sky High. Yeah,
Yeah, tribute to D'Lo.
D'Lo. And then Montez went to do the Frog Splash, the lowdown. And Matt Riddle jumped up onto the top rope and then gave him an RKO from the top rope.
Super okay.
That was amazing.
And then Chad Gable went to do a splash onto Randy Orton, who got up and turned it into an RKO mid-flight. Pinned him and retained the Raw Tag Team titles for Team RK Bro. which then led to the moment after the match where the Street Profits and Team RK Bro were gonna have a bit of the drinky poo, a bit of a toast to WrestleMania. They got Gable Steveson in the ring, who's about to have a bit of a drinky poo, and Chad Gable knocked the cup out of his hand. So the other four got out of the ring, and Gable Steveson threw Chad Gable around like he was a rag doll.
Gable and Gable.
I gave the match 4.5 out of 5. I thought that was a better way of starting WrestleMania. Again, like we know, because Rick Boogs had the injury, it probably would have been a better match. But this just had so much in it. It was just constant action. It was like being in a 16-player Halo game where it's every man for himself, where it's just bang, 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 bang.
Rockets only.
Yeah, it was. Or Shogo Goddammit mode.
That's GoldenEye.
I made it for Halo too. But it's just bam, 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 bam. And, it didn't tell a lot of a story, but with the constant action, you forgot that there wasn't much of a story because everything was just going and going and going and going. So I really enjoyed the match. Shay, we'll start with you.
I give it a 4. That was a very, very good opening match. Anything to make that match better, make it into a TLC match. So add weapons and it just makes it more fun, especially with Montez Ford in there.
You're a sadist.
There was so many good spots, especially for Montez. I'm a big fan of him. His high flying is pretty much one of the best in all of wrestling right now. The amount of hang time that he gets on all of his moves is insane.
Yeah.
There was a corner spot that he missed a splash on, I think it was Gable, went flying over the top and then splashes people behind the turnbuckle, which is impressive.
And then Chad Gable did the picture perfect moonsault.
Yep. Looked absolutely great. And then, what was another really good spot? Montez's frog splash is just a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
That, and, Riddle's RKO was better than Randy's, and that's saying something.
And then Randy did an even better one.
Exactly. I mean, those two, their chemistry with RK Bro, that's probably my favorite, not probably, it is my favorite tag team in WWE right now. They're entertaining. You can see that Randy Orton is enjoying himself. Riddle's always enjoying himself. And that people love them. And you can tell that.
And they're over.
Exactly. They're super over with people, and it's just something that works. Who would have thought Randy Orton would be in another tag team that people actually like, other than, Evolution and Legacy?
Rated RKO.
Rated RKO, actually, is probably the best one. Yeah. Yeah, 4 stars.
4 stars. Shokes?
4 stars. I was not. I was never not entertained for one moment, and I just, you just now that right on the head, Phil, just bam, bam, bam.
It was like you didn't want to. If you looked away, you missed something.
I did look away for one moment, and I'm glad they caught a replay of those moments. I forget which moment it was, to be precise, but
that was the entrances, wasn't it? No,
I think it was Randy's RKO.
Might have been. I don't think. I cannot remember. I'm sorry.
No, it was the Steiner dog.
Actually, yeah, you may be right on that one, and I'm glad they threw a replay of that up on there, because I definitely missed it, because I looked that away just at the wrong time, just to miss it. And yeah, it was just non-stop action all the way through. I loved every minute of it, and this is the second time I've seen Montez Ford wrestle, and I'm a huge fan of his already. Yeah, 4 stars.
So we go from the penthouse now to the fucking outhouse.
Can we please, for the love of God, skip this next one if it's the one I'm thinking of?
Wait, I'll read my notes word for word here so that you get a general idea here. So the next match was Omos versus Bobby Lashley.
Pass.
$2.99. I wrote it as boring, dull, and awful. Lashley spears Omos. Lashley put this crap out to pasture via pinfall. -3 out of 5.
Is that your actual ranking, or is that just on the notes? It's on the notes. Okay. So is that your actual ranking, though?
That is my actual ranking. It is not as bad as Jenna Maraska versus Queen Sharmell. But holy Christ, does it come close. I mean, it's not as bad as Jeff Hardy versus Sting at Victory Road. Apparently these two showed up sober. This was one of the most pathetic displays of a wrestling match at a WrestleMania I've seen in a very long time. I would honestly say I don't understand what anyone sees in Omos. He has got the athletic ability of a snail. Yes, he's really tall. Yes, he's got a scary sounding voice. You know who also had that? Giant Gonzalez. And you know what he said? Ric Flair, I'll kill you.
I thought that was Samoa Joe.
No.
I'm kidding, by the way.
He's just a plank of wood. And what I don't understand is Vince McMahon put so much time and effort into Braun Strowman only to jog him on at the first chance he got because this guy was cheaper. There's a reason why he's cheaper. He's fucking useless. And then you put Bobby Lashley in there. Bobby Lashley must have been frustrated as fuck, knowing there was nothing he could do with this absolute plank of useless wood. The only good thing about this is that he managed to make the Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair bullshit matches look good. This just... It was the wrestling equivalent of throwing your guts up in a bowl and then eating it again.
That's pretty bad.
Graphic. It was absolutely, truly pathetic. There was only 2 moves done throughout the entire match that weren't a clothesline, a running punch, a bear hug. I mean, there was 2 suplexes done in it.
Yeah.
And yet Vince McMahon thought this was a WrestleMania-worthy match. The only thing that was worthy of WrestleMania about this match was it was a piss break. Except we didn't know about it. It's the most absolutely pathetic display. And I honestly hope that WWE releases this fucking loser of Omos from his contract later on in the year. Because Jesus Christ, he deserves it. You know, this was actually supposed to be Omos versus AJ Styles, but they did some matches shortly before the Royal Rumble, some house show matches, and they were so bad, they nixed the angle.
Thank Christ for that.
Yeah, thank God.
AJ's probably relieved.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be?
Absolutely.
So... yeah, -3 out of 5. Shay,
What's the lowest I can give her? Match?
Well, the top score is 5, so one would assume
-5.
-5.
Go -5. It had to quite possibly be the worst match I have ever seen. Period. The worst match, and I've seen some pretty garbage matches. Literally. This had to be the most boring, stagnant match that I have ever watched. I felt bad for Bobby Lashley because I know he has talent. Yet he could not do anything with this giant hulking piece of garbage that is Omos. If AJ fucking Styles can't make you look good, nobody can. Why was he given a Mania match with Bobby Lashley? You could have given that to the Cruiserweights, if they actually had a title to compete for now. You could have given it to, split the female matches up, put them in another match. Because you had about 60 of them in one fucking match. Give anyone else this segment. It would have been better for everybody, rather than boring them, cooling the crowd down, which you don't want to do on Mania. I mean, please, either release him, or put him down in NXT and let him die. Jesus fucking Christ.
Or just kill him outright.
Put him in a car and make it explode. It worked with Vince.
Yeah, until someone else killed their wife and son.
Ugh.
And then we had to bring Vince back.
You know they lost stocks for that when Vince exploded in the car? The actual stock went down because they thought he actually blew up. Kayfabe in a nutshell.
Oh, Jesus. Right, so you've given it a rather savage -5 stars. We have totally melted the shit out of that.
Worst
Shogs,
match ever.
Shogs, talk to them.
I kind of don't want to. And after watching that match, I feel like... You know how I got to drive all the way 4 hours to Townsville?
Yeah.
I am going to use every ounce of my energy not to drive off the fucking road after watching that fucking god-awful match. Fuck Omos. Fuck this company. Oh, maybe not fuck this company, because overall it was a really good Mania event, but Jesus fucking Christ. It's going to take every ounce of my energy not to drive off the fucking road on the way back home and not pour battery acid over my eyes to unsee what I just saw. And I saw Sharmell versus Jay Maraska, for fuck's sake. I am refusing to give this a rating. I am going to refuse its existence entirely. Fuck that match. Can we please fucking move on?
Hey, if you don't rate it, it never happened.
Well, there was one more thing I wanted to say about this match. This match managed to make Undertaker versus Goldberg look good.
The one at Jeddah.
Yeah.
Okay, can we please fucking move on?
So we've gone from
Thank you.
the shithouse. Now we're soaring back up to the penthouse. Anything goes. Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn.
Oh, yes.
Thank
My first note on this match was, and you've got to let this breathe, okay? This is my Jeremy Clarkson style moment. Pain. Lots and lots of pain for Johnny Knoxville. Oh yeah, Party Boy showed up.
Yes, Chris Pontius, thank you.
Pontius.
And that's not the usually you see him in a G-banger that's more revealing than that. I think they asked him to wear something a little more conservative.
Still want DTs. It wasn't.
Yep.
Little imagination.
Fucking wee man body slammed Sami Zayn.
It was almost reminiscent of Hulk Hogan slamming on, Andre the Giant. Almost.
Or Sting slamming the Giant.
Yeah, too.
Wee man also took a ripper of a haluva kick.
Yep.
You mean a mini haluva kick?
Fucking Sami Zayn took a bowling ball to the nuts. He also got a kicking device to the nuts. And then he got put through a table with mouse traps on it. And then finally Johnny Knoxville brought out a ginormous mouse trap that malfunctioned, but he managed to get it to work and pinned and beat Sami Zayn for the win.
They gave him a hand as well.
Oh yeah, the giant hand was there.
So many throwbacks to the Jackass movies. It was freaking awesome.
It was.
It also made you wonder how many of those hits that Sami Zayn landed on Knoxville were shoot hits.
Yeah, I think that's why I put pain.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of pain for Knoxville, because I think he told Sammy, like,
beat the shit out of
sink it
me.
in. Like, I can take it.
That's one thing I wanted to bring up too. The commentary team for tonight was
Yeah.
on fucking for both the nights
McAfee,
on point.
Pat McAfee and Michael Cole particularly were just having an absolute blast. It's actually brought a new lease of life out of Michael Cole,
Absolutely.
who I thought for the longest time was the dullest piece of coal ever. And then Pat McAfee has just brought him to life. Pat McAfee is just so electric. At first I couldn't stand him. Now I'm like, this guy is awesome. I want to grow up like this guy. You know?
Yeah, he's starting to get to the kind of commentating level that, the King and that are at. he's starting to approach that level of being that good and that entertaining that he's actually bringing up the matches that he's calling.
Yeah.
And to the point of getting involved in said matches now.
Like jumping on the commentary table and dancing like a lunatic.
Exactly, and people are into that shit. And we'll get to his match a bit later, but
with this match, I easily 4.5 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5 for me. It was just so much fun, and I mean, again, Johnny Knoxville was in there with a safe pair of hands in Sami Zayn, but holy shit, Jesus, he took a beating in that, and he kept on ticking like an absolute champion.
But then he had one hand.
Yeah, one hand.
I didn't know Mark Henry and Mae Young's kid made it to the WrestleMania event. What? What?
Shokes, what do you think of the match?
Dude, I gave it a 4.5. It was a perfect comedy routine of a match, and I just couldn't stop laughing. It was very entertaining, and I just, Knoxville is by no means a professional wrestler. You could tell that, but that particular match against that particular opponent worked really well. And on top of that, they told a story really, really well, which is saying more than, a few of the other matches were, failed to do with actual professional wrestlers.
And the build-up, like the promo video they ran.
Yeah.
Like, that was some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. Like, Sami Zayn... Sami Zayn got his phone number and kept texting him.
That was actually a throwback to one of the old Jackass stunts where I think it was Bam Margera actually posted Johnny Knoxville's phone number on a billboard on a highway, and he ended up getting a shitload of calls from it.
But also, it was Sami Zayn's like, I challenge you to a match at WrestleMania, anything goes, and Johnny Knoxville's reply, you got it, Schnookums.
So good.
Oh man,
it just cracked me right up.
But yeah, just the fact that the Jackass crew were able to help him win, and I don't see many other wrestlers working with Johnny Knoxville to make it work that well. And hey, props to Sami Zayn for making it work, man. It was amazing. I was not. Yeah, I was not disappointed at all.
So it was 4 stars?
4.5.
4.5, yeah. Shay?
I'll give it 4 stars as well. That match was very, very, very entertaining. One of the more entertaining matches out of a lot of WrestleManias past.
Yeah.
It reminded me, as I was talking when the match was happening before, of way back in WrestleMania 17, the Kane, Big Show, and Raven hardcore match. It reminded me of a match like that where it's just fun. It's not all about serious title matches or anything. It was just a fun, good comedy match. It was good seeing all the Jackass guys from, guys that we remember watching back when the first movie came out. All that stuff. The spots were hilarious. Seeing Wee Man suplex Sami was funny. And even the commentators were having an absolute blast too.
It was a body slam, not a suplex.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was. You're right. Just the calls that the commentators were making were hilarious. I think Pat McAfee had a great line when the hand came out. What the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap.
Slap, bitch. The old Rick James gag.
Absolutely. It was just an all-round fun match and super entertaining. It's what you want to see out of WrestleMania.
And it really did pick the show up after the colossal car wreck that came before it.
Absolutely. And going back to what we said before, another celebrity match where the put in work and you could tell. And this one wasn't, a technical masterpiece because Johnny Knoxville isn't a wrestler, but it was something that, he's proficient in, which is, gimmick stuff, which is perfect. And Sami was a perfect opponent for that.
It was a perfect match style too. I don't think no holds barred match would have worked.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So then the next match was the Fatal 4-Way for the women's tag titles. The champions Queen Zelina and Carmella defended against Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Sasha Banks and Naomi, and Shayna Baszler and Natalya. I thought it was a rather solid tag match. There wasn't anything that really stood out other than, if I'm absolutely honest here, Carmella cannot wrestle.
Agreed.
And Naomi is dull.
I agree.
But Sasha Banks and Naomi got the pinfall and the win, are the new women's tag team champions.
Boo.
Honestly, I thought this was the best of the women's matches all WrestleMania.
That's not really saying a lot, though.
And this isn't a slight on women. I'm just... You know, we've seen really great matches from the women in the past. But this weekend, it just wasn't them. And I gave the match 2.5 out of 5. It's very down the middle. Shokes, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. 2.5. I don't recall any highlighted moments aside from the fact that Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan did the super powerbomb / suplex / whatever the hell that was.
Backbreaker.
The riptide into
backbreaker.
the backstabber.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where they did that simultaneously on each end of the corner, like each corner of the ring.
The Towers of Doom.
That thing. Yeah, I know wrestling, all right. No, I really think Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley should have won that match only because I freaking cannot stand Naomi as a wrestler. She is dull, boring, and she cannot wrestle. And what the hell is the rear view? Oh my! I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry.
No. You got a platform, mate.
No,
Go nuts.
Okay, seriously, the rear view is one of the most. Okay, so it is the stupidest wrestling move I have seen in a very long time, and I also just saw Omos's clothesline.
The Cobra.
Whatever, I don't care. Yeah, fuck Naomi. Just please retire. Leave. I just wish you'd never wrestled in WWE to begin with. The only reason you got a platform to begin with was because you were fucking one of the Uso brothers, Jay or Jimmy, whichever. I don't give a shit.
She's married to them.
Well,
One of them.
whichever. I don't give a shit anymore. Yeah, and Sasha Banks, while you're slightly better, I do not like you as a wrestler. You got the look and everything, but the only qualities you have are you are better than Naomi and Carmella combined, and that is not saying a lot. Please retire. I'm sorry, I lost track of where I was, but 2.5. Leave me alone.
Shay.
Yeah, I'd agree with Shag's rating on this. I'll probably give it I'll give it a 3. It was a very average match. There was no real big highlights other than the double Towers of Doom and the Riptide backstabber, as Shogo said. They were the only two things I could take out of this match. There was no build to this at all. It was just like, hey, we got a whole bunch of female tag teams. Shit, we better slap a match together, hey.
Well, it was more, we've got a whole bunch of women that aren't doing anything.
Yep.
Stuff them in a match.
Yeah, which they could have...
For tag titles that no one gives two figs about.
Here's an even better idea. Get the women that can actually wrestle. Where the hell was Asuka? Where the hell was Io Shirai? Where the hell was Kairi Sane? They could have put on a match together. I would have loved to have seen Asuka versus Rhea Ripley, actually. That would have been a better match, in general.
Io Shirai's still on NXT.
Sorry, well...
Kairi's retired.
Kairi Sane's now with Stardom.
What?
In Japan.
Okay, well...
Yeah, she left her
WWE.
contract with WWE lapsed, and now she's with Stardom.
Well, look, it's WrestleMania. Anything can happen, and therefore I think this would have been a perfect platform to put Io Shirai in there against Rhea Ripley.
Or at least bring Asuka back, because
Well,
she's doing a whole bunch of not much right
Yes, exactly.
Or Alexa Bliss.
now. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Alexa Bliss isn't doing anything other than I think she's getting married, or someone's getting married.
To be fair, I think she is getting, because of the fact that she's getting married, I don't think she wants to do much before the wedding in case, accidents do happen.
I mean, they could have had like a mini Royal Rumble, like a Battle Royal. And just have a couple of surprise entrants there. Done.
Or if they want add another tag team, I'm pretty sure Lita's got a few more matches in her.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
Lita and Trish winning the women's tag titles.
Lita and Io Shirai.
Well,
The double moonsault.
Lita and Asuka.
Yeah. You have a ground
You know,
submission specialist like Asuka, and then you have Lita, who's a high flyer.
but I mean, it highlights something that's going wrong with WWE. And I was saying this a year ago about AEW, and then watching AEW Revolution, you're sitting there going, well, their women's division is getting better. I mean, AEW's women's division
Tony
has
Storm?
got Britt Baker. I don't know much about Thunder Rosa, so I can't really comment too much.
Tony Storm.
Now they've got Tony Storm.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Tony Storm's doppelganger and Jamie Hayter. So both my wives are there. They got Sky Blue, Blue Sky, I think her name is, something like that.
Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, I said Thunder Rosa. Jade Cargill, the TBS champion.
She's ridiculously strong.
I mean, she's a bit scratchy in ring, but she's more along than Bianca Belair is.
Yeah.
Well, she is getting trained by Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson.
But, and then you look at WWE. I mean, they let Tony Storm walk out the door. And they were just like, oh, she wants to go. Oh, well, she can go. We've still got Charlotte and Becky and Sasha and Bailey.
We don't even have Bailey. I haven't seen Bailey in a million years.
Yeah, because she tore her ACL.
Yeah. Which is a shame because she's quite good.
I mean, you've got Dakota Kai, Rosa Mendez. I think it's Rosa Mendez. Rosa Gonzalez. Yeah, you've got all this talent. I mean, on the main roster, you've got Shotzi Blackheart. And you're not doing anything with her. What the fuck are you doing, Vince?
Yeah, they brought her up from NXT to do nothing.
To turn her heel.
Yep, and they do
To turn
nothing.
her heel. They let go of Tegan Knox. The fuck? And yet, here we are, and we've got to put up with Carmella, no offense, but Queen Zelina, because every time she opens her mouth, she can't cut a promo. She absolutely boils my piss.
Well, she can wrestle though, so I'd say keep
True.
her, but
True.
maybe not get her to talk.
Yeah, but I mean, fuck. You've got Lita. You can bring back Trish. I mean, you could pony up some cash and bring Mickie James back, and how good a promo thing would it be for one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions to also be the Impact Knockouts Champion?
Impact wouldn't drop
But
it.
Vince is so worried that he's going to get another Alundra Blaze incident where she takes the women's title to another company and throws it in the trash, which is exactly why Montreal happened. You know,
Yeah.
Montreal. Sorry, I'm going to spin off here for a second. Montreal could have been avoided if Brett acted like a professional and just done what he was told.
Brett didn't screw Brett.
Or if Vince had gone, okay, he's not going to drop the belt to Shawn. Taker was in the building. Taker even was like, just switch Shawn out and put me in. He'll drop the belt to me, and then I can drop the belt to Shawn the next night on Raw.
Yeah.
It could have been avoided. But, just, I mean, fuck, how about this? You could have put Lita and Stephanie McMahon as a tag team in this match.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool, and
Right.
and it would have given the whole nod back to back in the heyday kind of thing.
And Stephanie last time she wrestled was against one of the Bellas. I think it was Brie Bella.
She
Yep.
could definitely take
But she could still
a
go.
bump. She could definitely take a bump on that one.
You know, there's so many there. I mean, you could bring one of the NXT women up, like Kaylee Ray. Is it Kaylee Ray?
You bring one of the belt. No, never do that. Never ever bring them back.
We
for the
don't
love
want
of
to see
God.
the Bellas. If I ever hear that Primo auto-tune disaster ever again, I will kill someone.
Actually, I would have loved to have seen. She's not Piper Niven anymore.
Doudrop.
Doudrop. Yes.
Doudrop. Where the fuck was she?
Don't know, but I would have loved to have seen her wrestle, because the last match I saw her in was when I was with you guys, actually. But
It was her versus Becky Lynch,
yes,
wasn't it?
yes, and that match was top notch. It was amazing. And
See, I missed it because I was ordering the pizzas.
yeah, I remember that. Did you end up rewatching it at all?
No, not yet.
No, we'll rewatch it and you'll know what we're talking about. But anyway, I think we're losing track here.
Yeah. Right, so. Ordinary match. Right. We go on to the next match, which was Edge versus AJ Styles. AJ came out already bleeding
Yeah.
during his entrance because he tripped on something and hit his head on something before he even made it out.
He didn't do a Goldberg.
But I thought that it was a technical masterclass. I know Dave Meltzer gets a massive fucking hard on over Kenny Omega, and every time Kenny Omega's in a match in Japan, he gets, fucking 11 stars out of 5 or whatever, because Dave Meltzer sucks Kenny Omega's cock. But I thought that this actually was a really solid match. It was paced really well, and it told a really great story. The only thing that baffled me about this was Damian Priest just showing up at the end.
Yeah, they could have done that a lot better.
They didn't build up to that on Raw or anything. It was just, Damian Priest is here. He just distracted AJ. AJ got hit with a spear in midair. Edge wins, and now they're a faction. So that lost a couple of points for me. So it got a 3.5 out of 5. Shay, you want to go?
I'll give it a 3.5 as well. Losing points for the exact same reason as you. It was a really, really good match. And then, typical WWE fashion, they shit the bed with the finish. They could have done Damian Priest rocking up after the match. Have him come in and beat the shit out of AJ after he's been beaten already. Then have him in a faction. Then do whatever you want on the Monday after. Don't do it as a fucking finish. You do distraction finishes all the fucking time. You haven't done them for a while. And then you do this. And you ruin what could have been one of the best matches of the night.
And it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was just, it pans to the right and you see Damian Priest randomly there. You're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But that being said, at least Damian Priest is going to be in a faction and he actually has direction now, which is what he needs.
And he's going to be a genuine heel.
Yes, which he can play that because he has the look of a heel. Anyway.
So 3.5 stars?
Yes.
Yeah, Shokes?
3.5 stars, completely for the exact same reason, actually. So there's no real point me, repeating what's already been said. Having said that, though, I also did like the nod to the Brood that Edge, threw.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of that lately with little nods to the Brood. As much as I like the new Alter Bridge music he's got, why didn't they just use the Brood music?
That would have been cool, or an updated version of the Brood music.
He did last for Rumble.
Yeah, but eventually it went back to Metalingus.
Which
just
they're all good
stick
themes.
with the Brood music.
They're all good themes, though.
Right, so the next match was Sheamus and Ridge Holland versus what's left of the New Day. What ones of the New Day that Ridge Holland hasn't broken their neck. Look, it was fast and frantic, and there was lots of Butch, a.k.a. Pete Dunne, just acting like a spaz. And then, I swear, the match didn't even go for 5 minutes. It went for less than 5 minutes. And then Ridge Hollands hits the North Ridge. I think that's what his finish is called.
I think so.
And they picked up the pinfall.
Yeah.
It just felt like a squash.
Yeah, pretty
exactly
much.
what it was.
And that's exactly what the Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair match should have been. It ended when it was supposed to, and I don't find that match awfully memorable, but it ended exactly when it was meant to.
This match felt like it should have been on SmackDown.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Or take the Omos Bobby Lashley car wreck out, give this match a bit more time, and let it breathe a bit more. But at this point, I gave it a 1.5 stars out of 5.
Okay.
What do you reckon, Shakes?
Well, I would have given it a 2.5, only because I was slightly entertained by the fact that Sheamus was actually.
Jesus, I just clobbered the microphone.
Scared the shit out of me.
I thought you bladed early.
Yeah, it was AJ Styles on the way to the ring.
But yeah, look, Pete Dunne, I believe that they told him to, act all aggressive, like doing the whole hardy, hard, the whole typical Irish thing, even though he's not Irish. I think they're, leaning towards the, going back to the old WWE where they stereotyped everything, and which was, kind of entertaining in a way, I guess, but I'm not really all for it. But look, it did feel like a squash match, but I feel that it ended exactly when it was supposed to, and I feel that the Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair match should have taken a note from that book and just finished, when it's supposed to, basically.
Shay.
This match annoyed the crap out of me because I like the New Day. I like them a lot as a tag team. Xavier Woods is one of my favourite out of wrestling wrestlers, if that makes any sense. He just seems like a genuinely nice dude. And same with Kofi. Kofi's awesome, and Big E.
Well, you can't really call them the New Day because Big E's not there.
Yeah, they're still
Yeah,
half.
it's still New Day.
Yeah, but can you really call them the New Day without Big E? And, can you take one of them away and not call them the New Day?
Yeah, true.
And-
But yeah, seeing it pretty much be a glorified squash match in fucking Mania, like, what was the point of that?
there wasn't really any point to it, I guess, but still, yeah, you are right. It felt like it didn't belong in Mania.
Yeah, you could have done that on Raw instead. You didn't have to, have a random 2-minute squash match in the middle of Mania. There's no need for that, especially for New Day to squash them. There's no need at all. And you just made Butch. I can't stand that they changed a wrestler who was notorious for being, brutal in the ring to being a fucking chimney sweep. He looks like a fucking chimney sweep from fucking Mary Poppins.
He
Exactly.
looks like a chimney sweep, and he carried on like a chimpanzee.
Yeah. Like, what? Why? Why ruin someone that already had a built-up character? Just because you're moving them up doesn't mean you need to change their gimmick. They do it all the time. They don't need it because they're getting over with that shit. They're getting cheered. You bring them up, and you think that people don't watch NXT and don't know who they are? We're not stupid. We watch the fucking product. You expect us to watch NXT, and then they move up to the main roster, and then they're like, oh, this is a new guy. You probably haven't heard of him. Yes, we have.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what is it, Terry Funk being Chainsaw Charlie or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it's obviously Terry Funk, you can see his face.
And people are even chanting, Terry.
Yeah. It just blows my mind why they do this.
Another thing that disappointed me about this match was I was expecting Sheamus to hit the Celtic Cross,
I didn't hit the Celtic Cross.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
because that used to be called the Razor's Edge, which was Scott Hall's finisher. It just would have been a nice little nod.
Yeah, for a
to
nod
him.
that they've been nodding to a lot of people too.
Yeah. But they didn't do it. But that just felt like a squash match that really should have been on SmackDown.
Yeah, exactly.
But the next match was not a squash match. Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory.
This was actually a really
with
fun
Mr.
match.
McMahon at ringside. Oh, didn't Michael Cole enjoy this? My exact notes are the following. McAfee is nuts
Check.
and solid in the ring.
Fact.
And he did some hairy shit in there. Like jumping on, doing a running jump onto the top rope and then doing a superplex.
Yep.
Landing on his feet from a moonsault.
Yep.
And doing I don't think it was quite a swanton, but he did a senton.
It looked like a swanton, just not Not Jeff
It was
Hardy.
overly protected swanton.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, well, I can't really blame the guy. I mean, Jeff Hardy's been doing his swanton for, like 30-something years, and Pat McAfee has tried this, once?
Yeah.
And, it was a fairly solid swanton for, only having done it in-ring once.
But he looked really good in the ring.
He did.
And
He did.
Austin Theory was a pretty good pair of hands, despite the fact that I think Austin Theory, his character, is non-existent.
His character is shit. His wrestling ability is solid, to say the
Yeah, he's
least.
very Miz,
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
very vanilla. But he made McAfee look like gold. And I gave the match a very easy 4 out of 5. Shay?
I'll give it a 4.5. It was one of the best matches of the night, especially for somebody who doesn't wrestle a lot. Pat McAfee has shown us time and time again that he loves doing what he loves. Like, he loves doing this. His dream has always been to be in a WrestleMania match, and with Vince, of all people, saying, do it, and then him himself being in, at ringside and a part of the match too, is awesome. The feel of him, the crowd was all behind him, which was amazing to hear. He's a guy that has gone from being a commentator, just doing a talk show about wrestling, to now has become a commentator in wrestling, who has brought Michael Cole, as he said, given him a breath of fresh air, has brought up Michael Cole to actually be one of the better commentators now, because they're having fun. That's all it is. You can tell that they're both actually enjoying themselves. It's not they're coming to work wanting to, neck themselves because they're just getting bored or just have Vince in their ear and just calling shit, just pure shit. He brings emotion back to the business, which is what it was missing once King and JR left. There was no real feel for it. Like Byron has it sometimes, and Corey has that sort of heelish type feel when he's commentating, which is like what JBL was, or even going further back, Heyman. But that was missing a big part of it, and I'm glad that they're actually bringing it back. And he can wrestle, which is big. A lot of commentators, other than King obviously and Taz, they don't wrestle and they can't call. Well, Corey sort of. But yeah, having the experience of actually wrestling in matches now, it gives a different take on it too, which is always good to see.
Yeah.
I'm just a really big fan of Pat McAfee. I love the energy that he brings too. And then going to the end of the match too, which we haven't brought up yet, is...
No, I'll get to that in a sec.
Okay, I'll leave that for you. But yeah,
Shokes?
4.5.
I'd give it a 4. A lot of the stuff that he did was jaw-dropping, and I was not expecting that from a guy I'd never even heard of before. I love this match. It was really entertaining.
And he put Omos and Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair and all the ones we've criticised already.
Yep.
He showed them up. Same as Johnny Knoxville. Same as Logan Paul.
Yep.
Same as Stone Cold Steve Austin. They really showed up the people that are on the roster who put in a meh effort. Really showed them up.
Either that or they did put in a really big effort and, didn't get the results that...
Did a J.J. Abrams and muffed the landing.
Christ, yeah.
So then after Pat McAfee beat Austin Theory, Pat McAfee challenged Vince McMahon to a match.
Well, did he really? Or did Vince McMahon challenge Pat McAfee?
It was Pat McAfee slinging his mouth off, and Vince is like, all right, I'll give you a match. But then Austin Theory kept getting involved, and it was more a novelty than a match. But Vince McMahon won by pinfall over Pat McAfee. I gave it 2 out of 5. And then after the match, Stone Cold Steve Austin came out and opened up a can of whoop-ass on Austin Theory. Gave Vince McMahon the worst stunner since the first time Vince McMahon took a stunner from Austin.
Hey, leave the guy alone. He's like 78 years old or whatever the hell.
And then had a couple of beers with Pat McAfee, gave him a stunner. And then Pat McAfee rolled out, was leaning up against the commentary table on the ground. and Austin threw a beer out there for some reason, and we got a shot of Pat McAfee, who's supposed to be unconscious, still chugging a beer while he's asleep, which cracked me up immensely. Shay, what did you think of this segment?
That segment was great. It was just a nice, like Vince beating the shit out of Pat McAfee. I was like, something's going to happen here. You know, you can't have it end on a heel, you know, being high and mighty at Mania. And I'm glad that Austin did come out. And that was an unexpected pop, which is, you know, glass shattering always gets people on their feet for that, especially when they don't expect him to come out. It was just really nice to see. And then the cut to Pat just like chugging a beer. He was unconscious is hilarious. And even then when Vince actually got up and, you know, started going away from the announce desk, Cole was just like actually playing the face side of things, which is pretty cool to hear because you don't usually hear him take a side. Or if he does, it'll be on the heel side. And it actually sounded like Cole was getting a bit emotional during that too. During Pat's, you know, when Pat actually won. Because he said that, you know, he's one of his best friends, so he's quite close with him. Same thing with the King as well. He seems to be quite close with his partners, which is always comforting, you know? Feel good. It's a feel good moment.
I will actually give the match between Vince McMahon and Pat McAfee a 3. Oh, no, just hear me out. It was very entertaining, and you can sort of tell, well, you could definitely tell, like, give Vince some credit. He's, 100 years old, and he's still looking pretty jacked for, you know, for a man of his age.
Hey, I'm Jack, pal.
Yeah. Look at all this beef, pal.
Yeah, you taking steroids? You're like a real Jack, baby. You're like a real I can't do Booker T impersonations to save my life. But anyway, look.
Now can you dig that?
Obviously not. I genuinely believe that he, like, and by he I mean Vince McMahon, gave it his all. He's obviously really old, but I found it way more entertaining than the Omos match. And the fact that Vince McMahon could still, you know, he obviously needed some help from Austin Theory to win that match, and the fact that he threatened, like, I can't remember, but did he actually threaten the ref with his job if he disqualified him for, you know, playing dirty? Or
he didn't threaten him, but the referee was just like, if I do this, I'll probably be fucking out of a job.
Yeah, well, good. That's Vince being playing the heel boss. You know, I'm the boss. I can do whatever I want, kind of thing. And yeah, he beat the shit out of Pat McAfee, and, you know, won the match. And I really found it entertaining because it was just Vince having a, you know, crack at being the whole heel boss thing, and he does it really well. And and obviously I had to take away from the fact that he's, how old is Vince, by the way?
76.
76. He's 76 years old. He obviously can't give 5-star matches, but they were entertaining nonetheless. Yeah, so three stars. I'll give it 3.
All right, and then we get to the final match of the entire of WrestleMania. The match where it's the title unification match with the WWE and Universal Championship matches. The WWE Champion Brock Lesnar defending against the Universal Champion Roman Reigns, who was also defending his championship. To me, this felt like it was just a greatest hits package from Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Like, it was just suplexes, Superman punches, and spears. And a couple other little things here and there. But Brock Lesnar seemed to be really having a good old fun time with this. And I really enjoy babyface Brock Lesnar. You know, like, Paul Heyman did his intro for the match for Roman Reigns. And then Brock Lesnar grabbed the mic and did his impression of Paul Heyman's intro for him. And the crowd just ate it up. The crowd was just all over it. It was a kind of short match. Like, it probably went for bang on 10 minutes.
Yeah, the McAfee and Theory match went for longer.
Yeah. But
as it should.
I think it played up to what I like to refer to as the Goldberg effect. Keep it short and sweet. Let them get their greatest hits in, get out.
Yep.
It
It's a Haas fight.
finished after so Brock Lesnar locked in the Kimura, but Paul Heyman got Roman Reigns' arm on the rope, and then Roman Reigns hit a spear. Must have been like the 5 millionth spear, and pinned and retained the Universal and won the WWE title, thus becoming the new undisputed WWE champion. I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. I mean, it was solid. It had the Goldberg effect of just get in, get out, which played to their strengths, because the longer the match goes, the more boring it gets. And it actually told a really interesting story in the ring, as well as the promos leading up to it. This story was so well crafted going in. It was almost like, how can they fuck this up? And they didn't. It's just now that Roman Reigns has beaten Brock Lesnar, you got to sit there and go, well, who is going to be the guy who's going to dethrone Roman Reigns? And is it actually going to unify the championship? Or are they going to be defended as separate belts so that there'll be a champion on both brands again?
And that's what they're going for too, is who's going to dethrone him. That's what the effect they want to go for.
What are your thoughts, Shay?
I give it a 3.5. As you said, solid match. Nothing, super huge, super surprising happened. It was pretty much what you go into to expect, that two big pieces of meat just slapping the shit out of each other. One of them does suplexes, the other one does spears. Nothing out of the ordinary, but entertaining nonetheless. Brock's always fun to watch, especially if he's a face. I much prefer him as a face than a heel. He just seems like he's always having a good time. And Roman, ever since he had the head of the table gimmick, has been a good heel, finally. It only took him a few years, but he's actually good. But yeah, the finish was a spear and then a pin, but it was dirty tactics. It was like, yeah, you hadn't done it for a while. I'll give him a pass for this. But I have a feeling it's going to build up towards, the big payoff match where Reigns finally gets beaten. And whoever does that is going to get a massive pop and is going to get, a bit of grandeur that they've beaten someone that no one else has been able to beat yet. Which I have a sneaking suspicion, going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be Cody. Because that probably would have been the only thing that would have made him say yes to come to the company. To leave AEW, something that he helped create, had to be something big for him to leave.
Personally, 3.5 out of 5. I was entertained by this match, but I don't recall any moments being too memorable. It did end at a perfect time, like it ended 10 minutes or so, like that. Yeah, so it was a nice short and sweet match, and nothing too memorable, but I do remember being entertained by it. And I just wish I saw a bit more variety in terms of moves, but
with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, good luck with that.
Yeah, I know, but still, one can only hope, right? But yeah, overall, it was a really entertaining, Mania event. Yeah.
Well, Shay, give us a score out of 5 cheese graters for how you would rate the entire of WrestleMania 38.
The entirety of the event, I'll give it a 4. It was definitely one of the better Manias, especially the new layout of the Double Day Mania. Very solid matches, but there was also some stinkers in there. I'm not looking at anyone, almost. And majority of the female matches, unfortunately, which it's not a female wrestler thing, because there is good female matches.
There are good female matches.
Sorry, there are, yes.
Jesus, English is my second language, and I speak it better than you.
As in, they exist.
There
Singular
are, because
matches.
there are multiple of them.
Anyway, but
Gee, you speak really good grandma. Your grandma is so great.
But
I
yeah,
speak a very good English.
but
Your base belong to us. He set us up the bomb.
That was a Korean game, I believe, and I'm Japanese.
Is that a career game? Someone made a career out of that?
Funny enough, they did.
But going back to it though, the female matches are not that great. The male matches, most of them were quite good. The celebrity matches were excellent. And it was entertaining across the board. There wasn't really any time where I was super bored throughout the whole entire event. So yeah, I'll give it 4.
Personally, I will give it 4.5. I totally agree with what Dr. Shema says, and as much as I hate to admit it, I kind of want to see more of Logan Paul in the wrestling ring. I think he did really well, especially working with the Miz, and I also kind of want to see more Johnny Knoxville, to be honest with you. Then again, it might get too old too quickly if we see more of Johnny Knoxville. Maybe, I don't know, but I do want to see more of that, and have him on for a bit longer than just piss him right off or something like that.
Maybe that could be something they do for Extreme Rules this year and have the Knoxville Invitational.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things though, that because you haven't seen it for a very long time, it makes it special.
Yeah.
Which is why I think they should piss off the pay-per-views that are centered around having an event like Hell in a Cell and stuff like that. Have them every few years. Don't have them every year. It makes those matches special. Like when Hell in a Cell was not an event, when they were held, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
When, the Royal Rumble is one of the exceptions I would make for that, because the Royal Rumble is, a yearly event.
A precursor for
the
WrestleMania.
Rumble,
exactly.
The Rumble and the Survivor Series
are the exceptions to that rule.
Yeah.
Because those two, you have so many people in there. It's different every time. It's not...
And Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank is a weird one. Don't get me wrong, I love the Money in the Bank match. Is one of my favourite pay-per-views, other than the Rumble. But having some of the superstars that are in it, it's very superstar dependent. If you have a whole bunch of big dudes in there, nobody gives a shit. But if you have high flyers like Mysterio, high flyers like Ricochet, it's going to be really good. The one that they had in WWE HQ was a really good change to that because it was different, and people ate that shit up. They loved it because it was completely different, and you had bigger people in there that aren't usually typically high flyers that could actually do spots there. I mean, you had they were in Vince's office for fuck's sake. It was hilarious. But yeah, that kind of stuff. Getting a bit off topic, but the pay-per-views should just be pay-per-views and not centered around a single event.
Yeah, and not even named after the event. They
exactly.
should go back to, Backlash.
Great Balls of Fire, no.
Oh, Christ.
The Bash. But Judgment Day,
Armageddon.
that type of thing. No Way Out, those type of things. Because I don't want to watch a show called Elimination Chamber. Yeah. There's no surprise. There's no mystique. It's like buying a can of Spam.
But you can have it in Jeddah.
Apparently, that's where Money in the Bank is going to be this year in Jeddah.
No. People are going to be slipping off ladders.
Yeah. Goldberg will probably be in it. I gave it. I actually wrote down 4 out of 5 cheese graters, but I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 cheese graters. If you ignore the shitty matches, and I mean, even the women's matches, when we saw them at the time, they were crap. But then when you take in the bigger context of it, i.e., you saw the Omos Bobby Lashley match, even they looked better because of Omos and Bobby Lashley. There's more good than bad.
Yep.
The bad is insanely fucking shit. But even the mediocre or the less than decent is still better than the absolute shits. But the absolute soaring highs, there are so many memorable moments at this WrestleMania. So many WrestleMania moments that it really does overshadow the crap and make it seem like a really good show. And it just felt like a really, really well thought out WrestleMania where they actually put effort into it. Not they were still trying to figure out what they're going to do at WrestleMania 2 weeks before WrestleMania, which I think was what they did last year.
Yeah.
So, and it's been. I think this WrestleMania was the one where I went in with the least amount of expectations, and I walked out of it going, "That was a good WrestleMania."
Yep, 100%.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens on Raw tomorrow, because they've got an international crowd, and typically they rip the shit out of the product, and it ends up being
Mikey Yoda.
And I think Asuka is returning tomorrow, and also we see Veer Mahan finally show up.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
I swear to God, whenever anyone says his name, it sounds like just an Indian version of Vince McMahon. Oh, Veer McMahon!
Actually, speaking about Veer Mahan, I thought he was actually going to make an appearance at WrestleMania, and I completely forgot about him until you brought him up.
He's been wrestling on Main Event for a while.
Really? I thought the joke was he was coming to WWE.
Coming to Raw.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, he's been actually wrestling for a little bit on Main Event.
Is he any good?
I haven't watched any of his matches. I just know he has.
Oh, okay.
He's been on Wrestling Main Event. I don't watch Main Event.
I just know he has.
Yeah, we just know he's been over there.
No, it's long story short, I just figured he's one of those guys that everyone brags about and then he turns out to be out of crap or something like that. I'm just kind of expecting that of him. Never seen him wrestle.
The wrestling equivalent of Kanye West.
I'm going to let you finish, but Veer McMahon's the best wrestler ever.
Well, maybe the I don't even want to say. Maybe it's the UFC equivalent of CM Punk or something like that. What?
Oh.
What? They built him up for 2 years and he just turned out to be out of crap.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was our thoughts on WrestleMania 38. If you leave a comment down below, make sure you ring that bell and subscribe. And all the other stuff that people like What Culture and Watch Mojo and all those other hacks and shills try and do.
I love you, Simon.
Yeah. Simon Miller. Yeah. And Adam Wilborn. And who's Andy Murray. I like Andy Murray. I like Adam Wilborn. I like Simon Miller. Michael Sidgwick, suck a dick. You're a fucking personality vacuum.
Jeez, what do you feel about King Ross then?
Who's that?
This has been a Burnfest featuring Phil.
Yeah, shoot promo. it's a real shoot.
Hey, don't work yourself into a shoot,
Yeah.
brother.
I'm just Paul Heyman at ECW One Night Stand. 2 words for you, Edge. Matt freaking Hardy. Lock up your wives. It's Edge. Anyway, it's getting late for us, so we want to get this over and done with. On behalf of Dr. Seamus and Mr. Shogo, our missing compadres Tim and JB, and of course of myself, thank you for tuning in, and we hope you like the video, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we will catch you the next time we do a pay-per-view, which we have no idea when. But until then, thank you and goodbye.